The word of the day is disappointment. Frustrated, let down, feeling a loss of hope. The state of the day is New York. The NFL, Week 2 review. Some of you never watching football again after this week. Some of you canceling your season. And some of you celebrating the Super Bowl already. This week in the NFL, there was more news and rumors, I think, and changes as a whole in the last 72 hours than I've seen in a very long time. The best football team in New York is the Buffalo Bills, and before you reach for bleach, just know that I'm right. The New York Giants make Josh Allen look like a superstar, and that is sad. That is sad. The Bills are 2-0. They've won the last 2 games they played against both New York teams, and they have slayed inside of MetLife Stadium, and they're about to change the logo on the front of it from MetLife to Bill Life. That was bad, folks. This is bad. There are so many different things you can go over here in this game, not only this game, but this series as a whole. And the NFL this week, Pittsburgh is probably the most newsworthy next to the Giants. There's a lot of news, too. Jalen Ramsey wanting to be traded, not getting along with the coach. Every Miami Dolphins player wanting to quit the NFL and go back to college. This is bad, very bad, but it's not over. It's week 2. The problem is that after week 1, everybody that's celebrating a Super Bowl that loses says, oh, well, we just had a bad game. And then there's the people that haven't won yet and are canceling their season permanently after the week before they said they were already done for the year. There are no things that you can really go over until about week 8 or 9, and that's when you get the general idea. The Giants and the Bills. Saquon Barkley ran the ball great, and not much else happened in this game. That was really it. They had their defense looked a little bit better than it had the week before. Then again, they're playing a Bills team that's pretty sorry. Their defense is still awful, and it's probably the worst defense in the league. Saquon ran for 106 in this game, and not only that, the Giants' defense continued to give up play after play after play. I think 83 yards in this game, and this team was all over the place. So the Giants lose to the Bills. They're now 0-2, and the news of the day is Daniel freaking Jones. I don't know if I could be any more clear, and I don't like to tote myself, but I was right, and I told you that Eli Manning will not make it out of September, and he hadn't even made it halfway through September. The Giants are going to be starting Daniel Jones this coming Sunday in the 4 o'clock game against Tampa Bay, and I think that this team has nothing to lose. So all of you Giants fans that are out there, and all of you that are so disappointed and so concerned and shocked, first off, before the season started, you knew what you were getting into. You knew it was going to happen. You knew that the Giants were going to be awful, and you knew that Eli Manning was not going to be any better. So I don't know where the surprise factor is coming from it. As far as the respect aspect goes, if you're not producing, it's the next man up. It doesn't matter how friendly, how likable you are. And I know it's not all Eli's fault, because this guy has not had a very well supporting cast besides maybe Odell Beckham. But he's also not the solution either. Daniel Jones looked great in preseason. Yes, it's preseason. But they have nothing to lose except the season. So if you keep playing Eli, and next week Tampa Bay shreds the Giants D, and Eli only throws for 110 and he throws 3 picks, what's the point? I don't know why everybody's sitting here saying call it a career, because what if Daniel Jones does worse? You get what I'm saying? But I think Daniel Jones will be all right. But this Giants team is not going to do much. They have nothing to lose. They can't afford to start off 0-6, 0-7, because you will not dig yourself out of that hole. So many teams have tried. Titans did it once. and they still missed the playoffs. The Giants get Frank Gore. I mean, I don't know, man. This guy's still going. He's so much older. He's got 68 yards. His career's got to be coming to an end soon. But the Giants do take down the Bills. Or I'm sorry, the Bills take down the Giants, and the Giants are 0-2. And except for the Bills, both New York teams are winless, and that's going to take me to my next New York team, the New York Jets. The New York Jets got smacked yesterday. They were on their third-string cornerback. Sam Darnold's been hanging out in nightclubs and kissing all up on women, and that is why he did not play. He had mononucleosis. And then their second stringer, which god awful in this game. At halftime, he was 3 for 6 with 3 yards. I mean, you're better off having a snail throw a football without arms. This was awful performance for Trevor Siemian. He ended up getting hurt with his ankle, and Luke Falk comes in, and Luke Falk's probably going to be starting from this point on, unless Sam Darnold comes back. But I do not know. The Jets' quarterback situation is atrocious right now, and they are in dire needs of this team to do something, and they got a rough 4 games coming ahead, and this is going to be very, very ugly for the New York Jets. They get smacked by the Cleveland Browns. Odell Beckham's homecoming to MetLife Stadium was all that and then some. Odell Beckham had 155 yards. I think it may have been more than that. I don't know exactly off the top of my head. Five completions, and he had an 89-yard run in this game off the catch as well. And Odell Beckham Jr. was lighting it up in his MetLife return. Baker Mayfield looked complete jackass opposite of last week, threw for over 300. And the Cleveland Browns looked really good in this game against the Jets. It's against the Jets, but the Jets' defense did get better. But Cleveland does take this game, not as Browns, and this team is looking good after that second game. But we're going to see where they go from here. But it was definitely a step in the right direction for the Browns and a much-needed win. And the Jets are in trouble. But your Thursday night game, which was your first game of the week, was Tampa Bay and Carolina. And this game was very back and forth. You've seen Tampa move down a little bit. They had some plays. I don't have too much to really say about this game, but the game came down at the end when Christian McCaffrey was going to run in for a touchdown, and he was a yard short. They did review it, but Carolina did lose this game. They're 0-2 on the year, 20-14. Tampa Bay takes it. And Cam Newton, is, as noted today, has an injury, and they don't know what it's going to be. But the Panthers are also a team that has talent and are in trouble as well. So these 0-2 teams are going to be gasping for air a little bit as they're a little bit desperate. But I know Tampa Bay has as hosting the Giants, I believe, coming up this week. I'm not quite sure who Carolina plays. But the next game was Arizona and Baltimore, and I think that Kyler Murray looked a lot better in this game. Lamar Jackson did it again. Lamar Jackson had a good game. He did not put up 59 points. I didn't think that was coming anyway, but he looked good. He had over 270, and I think he had over 100 yards rushing. Lamar Jackson is one of the best running quarterbacks in the league, and he is a much better version of RG3. And I think he's got a lot more talent than I gave him credit for. Again, it's against Arizona. The Cardinals have an atrocious defense, but you know they looked a lot better. Well, not I wouldn't say better, but they held the Ravens to a close game. And Kyler Murray was getting yards as well, throwing the ball. But the Ravens do take this game. They move to 2-0. And the way it's looking, I will get into it in a minute. The way it's looking, it is looking like the Ravens are going to probably be favored to win the AFC North as of right now. I know it's early, but it's hard to really root or say anything against any other team just based on the fact that the Steelers are in deep shit. And the Cleveland Browns are a giant question mark. And the Bengals just can't stay healthy or win games no matter how good they look. Speaking of the Bengals, they played the San Francisco 49ers Sunday, or attempted to do so, and they got absolutely obliterated. Jimmy Garoppolo was doing his Tom Brady impression. You sit behind Tom Brady, you're going to be good in the future. Jimmy Garoppolo looked good. Cincinnati had not really a run game in this game because Joe Mixon was silenced, and Joe Mixon has been a more elite running back. Not elite, but a way above average running back in the NFL. And Jimmy G did his Tom Brady impression, and he did a damn good one. He looked very good in this game. San Francisco was all over the Cincinnati team, and I said in my preview and predictions that you have to watch out for this San Francisco team. They are a slept-on team, and it would not surprise me if they snagged an NFC wild card. Now, the next game was probably a snooze fest of the season, or to this date. It was Detroit getting a win over a LA Chargers team that was completely game. It was 13-10, not much of an offensive showing. The LA could not score on the Lions. The Lions needed to win after last week's tie with the Cardinals. So Detroit wins this game. They're still an awful team. The Chargers should have won this game. They did beat the Colts last week in a good overtime game, but this is the Chargers. You got to win these games, and these are the teams that are the worst teams in the league, or among the sinking ship in the league. Those are the teams that beat you because you do not take them serious. Dallas plays Miami next week. Watch Miami beat them. Watch. Just kidding. Miami sucks. Detroit wins. LA doesn't. We'll see where it goes from here. It could just be a slip up for the Chargers. But Phillip Rivers is so inconsistent, and so are the Chargers. And it's just this team. It's weird. The Chargers are one of the weirdest teams in the NFL. A team that had a good bounce back from a tough Thursday night kickoff last week was the Green Bay Packers. They did take down the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Rodgers was looking a lot more like himself. He threw for over 200, and the run game was fantastic. Aaron Jones had 114, and one of the most slept-on running backs in the league. He has produced in both weeks, and I actually have him in my fantasy team for Madden, that is. Dalvin Cook from Minnesota. He was great. He had 154 yards running the ball. Aaron Jones, I said, was good at all. It was a run-heavy game in this game, but the Packers looked a lot better than they did originally in the opener against that Chicago defense. But the Packers, we'll see where they go. They're always in the mix. This team is a giant question mark, and the Packers are not really a very good football team, but they have a great quarterback, and I'm going to say that Aaron Jones is a good running back. So we'll see what the Packers do, see if they can keep this momentum going on next week. It's a slip-up for the Vikings, but you know how these division games goes. Green Bay has owned this division for so long, but it's kind of the tides have switched over to Chicago, and I still would say Minnesota's a much better team than Green Bay. A good win nonetheless for them. Game was New England and Miami, and this was not a game. This was a abusive showing of football. You knew exactly what was going to happen before this game. Antonio Brown made his debut for the Patriots here, and after the second, there's a second woman that came out and accused him of assault, and things aren't looking good for Brown in terms of where that's going. We'll see what happens with that, but as far as the performance goes, he had a good game. He had 4 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown as well, and New England stomped all over Miami. Miami's got to be the worst team in the NFL, and I think we all probably believe this. New England won 43-zip. Nothing to see from the Dolphins except for players frustrated. They just traded Fitzpatrick, Minka that is, to the Steelers, and the Steelers are going to look to bolster that defense a little bit. But I think they need to be looking at quarterback, because we'll see what happens with Mason Rudolph as well. But New England stomps all over Miami, and it was just a bloodbath from every direction. The most boring game of the week was Jacksonville versus Houston, a division matchup, and if I watched this game, I may have been knocked out by halftime because this game was complete shit. Nothing happened too much in this game. There's no breakout stats. There's none of that stuff to go over. It's just Houston abolishing, or no, not even abolishing, but stopping that 2-point conversion, which was going to be a factor at the end. The Jags were trying to get that 2-point conversion to get the 1-point lead and the victory as well. But Houston takes that, and they're looking good as well, and they're a team that is not taken seriously in this division, because the Titans are a good team, but we have that question mark. And the Colts, how long can Brissett really hold the reins there? But I think the Titans, Colts, and Houston all are capable of winning the AFC South, but Jacksonville is going to be the lone man out. Is the Seattle Seahawks and Pittsburgh Steelers, and this was a very well-fought game, and Russell Wilson has looked phenomenal in both of his starts as the Seattle Seahawks quarterback. But the real talk here is the Pittsburgh Steelers, whose franchise or season plans, at the snap of a finger, completely changed over the week. Seattle ended up edging this game out 28-26, and Roethlisberger played a little bit before going down with injury. It's happened plenty of times where Roethlisberger's been injured, but we don't really know exactly what we'll get from him. But the news comes out the next day that Roethlisberger is having season-ending elbow surgery, and that is a giant blow to a Pittsburgh Steelers team who was already in trouble after a second straight loss. It's really going to hurt the Steelers. I don't see them making the playoffs. I really don't. I know they have a good team outside of Ben Roethlisberger, and Mason Rudolph, from what you've seen, can be a better backup and a not at all a replacement for Ben Roethlisberger, but he can hold the reins a little bit. But I still think this team is going to be hovering around 500 before the year's over. They may do better. They might click out with 9-7, but then again, my guess is as good as yours. The Mason Rudolph looked okay, but one of my friends, as a Steelers fan, told me that this was his first start in the NFL, and he looked really good when he came in. It wasn't a start, but his first NFL regular season experience. I still have to look that up. He would know more than I would, but I feel like he played already in the regular season, but it was his first regular season performance for this man, and that is, he looked good. He had 2 touchdowns. He had over 100 yards in the short time span that he played. So we'll see what happens. Seattle's a good team, but Pittsburgh's going to be in trouble, and it's definitely a shot in the heart to not have Roethlisberger, who is revived to be the locker room leader and an important guy in this Pittsburgh Steelers team. I don't really know their schedule coming up, but regardless, Seattle did look good, and it was a lot of news to talk over in that game. The Colts and the Titans, this was my 1 o'clock game that I sat and watched, and man, this was frustrating as shit. This was very difficult to watch at the end. We were in control majority of this game, especially on defense. We were locking down the Colts. There wasn't too much going on. They did jump out to an early lead, but the Colts were doing their thing as well. Vinatieri, and I know that he's one of the best kickers of all time, but his time is coming, and it is coming fast. He missed, I don't know, I think it was 2 extra points and a field goal in this game. It may have been 4, but there's a point in time. He is the oldest player in the NFL, and your leg does not get stronger once you start reaching past the age of 45. I don't know exactly how your leg muscle and exactly how your legs are as you get older. I don't know when the time or the cutoff is for that. I'm not a doctor, and I haven't researched those kind of things, but your body does get weaker as you get older once you cross a certain plateau or a certain time frame in your life. But Vinatieri will go down, in my opinion, as probably best kicker I've ever seen, but he did not look like that in this game. We gave up a 55-yard run at the end of the game, and the Colts ended up icing it down and scoring and getting that 2-point edge over us. It was 17-13 for the longest time in this game. Logan Ryan had to pick off Brissett, and our defense looked good, but man, Brissett was doing some superhero-like things. He was dodging all these sacks. There are so many plays where we could have hit him for loss of yards, but Brissett was just sacking and sacking and sacking, or avoiding the sack, that is, and we just could not take this man down. We were hitting him, getting contact, but the Colts did edge out this one. Really would have been a game we wanted to win. They needed it more than us, though, because we do have Jacksonville on Thursday night, and I do expect us to win that game. So that is that. The Dallas Cowboys in a division matchup took on the Washington Redskins, and the Cowboys are looking good. Yes, how good can they really look with their competition? But skill is skill, and the Cowboys are looking like one of the... I want to drink bleach when I say this, but they're looking like one of the teams, the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC, and they're looking really strong. Dak looked fantastic in this game. Elliott did what he does after getting that contract. He ran for 111. Redskins are headless chickens. They are headless chickens. This team has no idea what they're doing. They got talent, but it's just a complete disaster everywhere. AP's getting older, and usually age hasn't affected him. But AP did not look good here. He had 10 carries, I think, for 25 yards. And Dak looked great. He completed most of his passes. And this Dallas team was scoring. They scored 31 points. Case Keenum had an okay game. He scored 21. But Dallas looked great, and they rolled against Washington. And they are now 2-0 on the year. And Eagles, well, I'll get to them in a minute, but I'm expecting Dallas to win this division. I just think that they've been great, and I think their offense is so consistent, and they've had pretty good defense, and they have defensive playmakers. And I hate to say it because the Cowboys are my least favorite team in the NFL, but they are coming this year. They are coming this year, and you better watch out. There are plenty of teams that can beat them, and I think that every year they're an accident waiting to happen. The next game was a blowout, but it didn't feel like it. An AFC West matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders were strong, and they were in control early in this game. The first quarter, I don't really know when the ties switched. Like I said, there's so many scores and things I got to keep up with doing this. It's unbelievable how some of these guys do this for a living. But the Chiefs ended up doing their offensive explosion like they do in every game. And Mahomes is punching every week. Is a stat that's going to go towards his Hall of Fame induction one day. Best offense in the league, one of the most, he's just unbelievable. He passed for 443 yards in this game, and the Chiefs' breakout wide receiver of the week was Demarcus Robinson. He had 172 yards. receiving in this game, and it's so crazy how the ball can be spread out on that Kansas City offense. Literally any receiver can catch for over 150, and it's just absolutely unbelievable how it's a next man up mentality when Hill out and all those type of things. But Josh Jacobs is another talking point on the opposite side of the field for the Oakland Raiders. Josh Jacobs, in 2 weeks, has had great running performances. The Raiders did draft him to be their running back, and I think that he's going to be a breakout back in this league. He was 1 yard off of 100, and that's got to suck. I mean, I could just imagine recording a stat and being 1 yard off 100. That would just piss me off. But Josh Jacobs looks good, and I think the Raiders they're going to be all right this year. They're not going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to make that cut, but they're definitely showing signs of improving and working towards that type of environment. But the next game was probably a heartbreaker. I didn't watch this game, but I was assuming that the Broncos had this in the bag. The Broncos and the Chicago Bears. The Broncos scored late in the game, and everybody was celebrating. There was about 30 seconds left, I believe. And then Chicago ended up getting it to field goal range, and they kicked the game-winning field goal, and the Broncos are now 0-2 on the year. Joe Flacco is, like I said, he's a question mark. You really don't know what you're going to get from him, but this Broncos team is in trouble this year. I don't think Joe Flacco was the guy, really, honestly. Their offense is going to be a problem. Yes, they've had great defense, but this Denver offense is they have tools, but I think the Broncos, after predicting them to win or be maybe even a breakout playoff team, they've quickly gone to one of the worst teams in the league on paper. On paper. Paper. That doesn't mean they're not good. It's on paper. You're going to see what happens. I don't know if the Broncos or the Bears play next week, but the Broncos really got to win, and they are a desperate team that is hungry, and they need to start getting this offense scoring more as well. But this Broncos team is in trouble. They are in trouble. I think that they really need to get things going, because soon, I don't know when they play Kansas City, but you have to keep that a loss. That could even be next week. I have no idea. I know that us Titans play them in a couple weeks, and it's going to be interesting to see how we can do. I think we're going to have a tough time with that defense, though. But the next game is New Orleans taking on the L.A. Rams. And the New Orleans and L.A. Rams was kind of like a stalemate. It was kind of like a game of chess. And you were waiting to see who made the wrong move and who was going to capitalize it. And it was the L.A. Rams. The L.A. Rams did end up blowing out the New Orleans Saints. Cooper Kupp was great. He had 100 and Burley looked okay. And the Rams were able to take off the Saints. And Saints offense was not in great shape. But Drew Brees also is going to be out for 6 weeks. He's going to have that thumb surgery. But Teddy Bridgewater is good enough. Now, repeat me when I say this. Teddy Bridgewater is good enough to hold the reins for the Saints until Brees gets back. And this is why, because Teddy Bridgewater, the Saints are a good team. So they'll be okay. And Bridgewater is one of the better backups. And he's good enough to be a starter on a lot of teams. I hate to shoot down the Packers because I have one of our close friends is a Packers fan, but this is the problem. The Packers are not really a good team, but they have a great quarterback. If Aaron Rodgers goes down, the Packers are fucked. If Drew Brees goes down, they have enough players around them to where they can make themselves stabilized and maybe have a 500 record before Brees comes back. So that's what happens. We'll see what we get from that. And I believe the last game review of the week, a lot of my Philadelphia Eagle fan friends woke up in their bag this morning because Carson Wentz looked like shit Sunday night. And he got hurt, but it wasn't as bad as they thought. He was able to come back into the game. The Falcons looked okay. Julio had a bounce back after having only 32 yards the first week. Calvin Ridley was also big. He came up big. For all of you that did not have him in fantasy, it is what it is. But the Falcons ended up getting this game. They needed to win this one. And the Eagles, I feel like, should have had this game, but they just could not get it done. So that's your NFL Week 2. And if I'm correct, that is every game that I have reviewed. This one went a little bit longer than I would have liked it to go, but it is what it is. One of the most newsworthy Week 2s, and so many things to talk about in this game, or not this game, but this week. And that it was just been a whirlwind of a little bit of everything. Don't cancel your season if you're 0-2. But if you're the New York Jets, you might want to not watch anymore because the Jets are the team that is really in trouble. going forward. The Giants also, but the reason why I said the Jets are in trouble is because we expected more from the Jets. We knew this was going to happen with the Giants, but we didn't see this coming with the Jets. They're going to have to really show out and come up big. They got New England next week, and it's going to be a tough one. I'm assuming definitely 0-3, but we'll see where everything goes. Thank you guys for watching, and enjoy the rest of your week.